Right, welcome back, Math 20-3. Today's lesson is the first lesson of Chapter 6, Financial Services. As you grow old, and when you get a full-time job, part-time job, any type of job, you need to understand about income, which is what you learn in grade 10-3. However, what's my next goal? The next goal is thinking about and analyzing about what will be a good financial institution and what kind of account that I need to choose. And in future, we're going to talk about Visa card and those kind of things too. Investment, all of those. How can we calculate the interest? Those kind of situation. Realistic math is what I like to say. It's about this chapter. And of course, the very first one is choosing an account. And I'm not necessarily talking about Royal Bank of Canada or TD or any type of other ATB, those kind of account type from a different financial institution. It is more about looking at different banking options and services in Canada itself. Some of the example may go little detail, some of them may not go detail. Have that in your mind. And when it comes to banks, they also provide different services, either in person or any type of automatic teller machine, which is ATM. So here's the page that you need to go through. If you use a workbook, we are going to use a table from page 280 as one of the main part of today's lesson. And we're going to answer example number 1 and possibly example number 2 using that table or according tables for each. So have that in your mind. There's a little bit of a shadow effect, so please understand. If you go to page 280, as you can see over here, there is a chart. There you go. The chart talks about Northwest Bank of Canada service package, and it's talk about monthly fee, self-service accountant, full service accountant, bonus saving account, those kind of different type of account. And yes, it is important to undergo what kind of bank best suited to me, and because, for example, the bank that I choose have many different options without penalty, more chance of getting, who knows, mortgage in future, those kind of thing because of good credit that you have. So we're going to use this example. Of course, it's dated example. Financial ups and down is really hard to predict, especially like this COVID-19 situation. So have that in your mind. Page 281. You have example number 1. We're going to do this together. And bank option does not necessarily require certain new type of lesson. It does come out when it comes to formula later, but the very first lesson is straightforward. In 1 month, Mary makes 2 deposit and 5 cash withdrawal at Northwest Bank. She pays 4 bills online. She maintains a balance of over $1,000. Calculate her fee of each of the account. So if you look at page 280, you have 4 different types. Value account, self-service account, full service account, and bonus saving account. So let's talk about pros and cons as time go. First thing first, let's talk about what Mary did. Mary did 2 deposit and 5 withdrawal. It can be ATM. For example, it says ATM, sorry. She paid 4 bills online. Online banking. Something like that. And which account would you advise her to use? So we basically need to find out which one costs her the least. So the key thing that you need to understand is pick the most lowest amount of fee option for this regular transition situation. So let's go through one by one. Number one, the very first option that we have is basically value account. I'm gonna value account. Let's talk about that expense. First thing first, monthly fee is $3.90, and that has to be waived. Because Mary, oh, I forgot to put this. Mary also, there is a key information that I missed. In her account, she have a balance over $1,000. So have that in your mind. If I look at my first option in page 280, it says fee waive on minimum monthly payment of minimum monthly balance 1,000 is $3.90. So if you think about how much she need to pay, first of all, she need to pay $3.90 just because her balance is over $1,000. The account covers 10 self-service transactions, and when it comes to her transactions, she did personal, there you go, 5 withdrawals, so she used about half time. And when it comes to, should be done. So when it comes to next situation, she need to consider about self-service, what is the additional charge if it's not covered by monthly. It is 0.50 transaction rate if you go over than 10 times. So when it comes to that situation, when it comes to her fees for value account, it's basically 0.50 per time. So one thing that you need to understand is, here's the thing. She did 2 deposit, 5 withdrawal, and 4 bills. So if I think about the total transaction, whether it's incoming money or not, is 2 plus 5 plus 4, that's 11. So if you look at this, she paid $3.90, and at the same time, she did 1 additional transaction as a self-service. So she need to pay 0.50 in addition, which means if I adding up together, $4.40 she need to pay for this month. That is a value account. When I look at second example is self-service account. It says $10.90 will be spent by students and youth under 18 and save 50% on the monthly fee. Now, she pays $10.90. The reason being is because the fee waive a minimum monthly balance is $1,500. Right now she have $1,000. So that means her balance minimum is not reached. So she is basically paying some kind of penalty, if that makes sense with you. $10.90 because her balance didn't reach to $1,500. That's the only reason. However, that's it. She doesn't have any type of additional payment because if you look at the third row, it says 25 self-service. Right now you reach about 11. Definitely there's about 14 more transactions that she can do. So at this point, that's the only thing she pay, $10.90 for the option number 2. Now let's go with option number 3, which is full service. Full service. It says she need to pay $24.50 if her balance is less than $2,000. So her minimum balance is not reached. So this is a full service option. This is for people who have more money, apparently. She need to pay the penalty of $24.50. However, you have to have 40 self-services for ATM. You don't have 40 services, so you don't need to pay that 0.25 cent every single time. So that means she need to pay 24.50 this month if she did that as 11 transaction as a full. So far, third is the most expensive one, so we're not likely go with that option. Bonus saving account. If you look at bonus saving account, there is absolutely no fee. There is 0 monthly fee. The fee waived on minimum monthly balance is also none. However, transaction covered by monthly fee, there is only two debit transaction. There's only 2 debit transaction. Now, that means, let's think about it. She did 11 transaction, so 2 free time transaction. That means she also need to pay like how much 9 transactions she did. So if I think about, and when you look at the 4th row of that table, it says self-service or teller assistant is $1.25 each. So 9 times $1.25 is what you need to do. And take out your calculator, of course. 9 times 1.25, and then that is equal to, that become $11.25 as what she need to pay in this month due to her 11 total transaction. So let's look at what is the lowest cost for her. Obviously 3 is out. $24.50. That's not the most efficient method. So 3 is out. If I look at 2 and 4, of course, it's a mathematical calculation. She seems like doesn't do a lot of transaction. She doesn't need to have 25, sorry. So even if this is cheaper, than this, $10, $11 cost quite a bit. For this month, for her option, $4.40 seems like a best choice. So her account choice should be value account choice. And that will save her life quite a bit. That's what I want you to understand. Now, let's do different type of example. I want you to go to example number 2 on workbook page 283. Page 283. The question shows that the following is Onani's accounting of his transaction for the past month, and he has a value account. So first thing first, we're still referring the table, but we are solely talking about the value account. If you guys remember the value account, that was the very first one. Monthly fee of $3.90, those one, the previous answer. Column, if you will. So I'm just gonna show you what transaction that we have. Now, as you may notice, we have ATM, bank card, ATM teller, those kind of detail that is given. This is like your monthly balance information that you can get from online banking, or some people still, if there is, getting a monthly, even credit card show that detail, those kind of thing. Now the question is this: how much will Onani pay in extra transaction fee? And what will his balance be at the end of the month? So let's talk about our very first part first. A. extra amount. Now let's think about it. Let's in fact count how many type of self-service transaction did that person do. It is simply counting. So we have one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. It seems like we did 12 self-transactions. So that means you can count anything ATM, anything teller related, and if you go and count everything, there are 12. Yeah, the only two thing that doesn't play a huge role is anything that involve with purchase at this point. But in any case, we have 12 self-service transactions. So that means let's look at our previous plan. You need to go back and forth. According to the value account, 10 service is basically covered, but we have 2 additional charges, which means I need to multiply that by the self-service, and that self-service, let's see, to $1. Oh, you guys need to be careful. If you read the table, there is 50 cents for self-service and $1 for teller service. And if you go to the table on page 283, one of them is actually self-service and one of them is the extra transaction by the teller. So basically, instead of multiply, one of them was 0.50. One of them was 1.00. So if you add it, basically it's case by case situation. You are paying $1.50. Sorry about the delay between because I'm going back and forth. So regular monthly pay $3.90. Oh, we don't need to pay $3.90 because of one reason. Our balance is more than 1,000, so we don't need to pay that amount. So here's the thing. His account offered 10 free self-service transaction. He paid 0.50 for one extra transaction and $1.50 for, sorry, let me just do this one more time. I have, again, teller assisted service that I went over, which is one of them. The other one, there you go. It turned out that this person, Onani, didn't use ATM for Northwest Bank of Canada. If you look at it, the very second part, in fact, I will show you if you don't mind. There is a part where, can you see this? Non-Northwest Bank. So that means I basically need to pay $1.50 penalty for that one. So long story short, here's a nutshell. I have $1 and sorry, I don't know why I erased it. It's a different part. 0.50, $1. Those are two different type of teller service that I went over. So that one is $1.50. And another $1 came out because of our $1.50, sorry, non-Northwest Bank of Canada account. So I have 1.50, 1.50, and each of those teller cost 2 teller assistant transaction that is involved on page 283. That's another $1. So Long story short, if I add these three together, 1.50, 1.50, that's 3. 3 plus 1, that's $4. So here's the thing. If Onani is using our basic value package, is that the proper name of it? Sorry, let me just go. Onani's account, value account, yeah. If you use value account, you need to pay $4 for that plan of that month. Now, some people think that's a lot, some people think that's not a lot. So in that situation, it is quite doable. Now B, final balance. The question asks you specifically about also how much it costs and those kind of things. Related to this, I'm gonna show the table because it is subtraction. Long story short, there is no formula. What you need to do is subtract all cost plus all extra payment. So if you like to go with extra payment at $4 at the very end and then do it, that is okay. But if you like to go specifically, here is a table that you can do. It starts with 4,398.40. You are withdrawing 100. So as you may notice, that's a minus. If I withdraw again, that's minus. If you buy something, that's minus. If you buy something, that's minus. Same thing. However, if you deposit, that's plus. If you pay bill, that's minus. Payment, minus. Cash withdrawal, minus. Paycheck, that's plus. Rent, you pay rent, right? Minus. Bank card for grocery, that's also minus. Lunch, minus. And paycheck, that's plus. Teller gas bill, that's minus. As you may notice, anything that involves teller service, you need to have $1 and $1 situation. If you think about any type of service charge with extra, that's 1.50, especially in this case, that's non-ATM, non-Northwest Bank, sorry. And when your bank holder. And when it comes to direct deposit, it did as a service charge, which is another negative, 0.50. So long story short, if I add up every single negative, and if I add every single deposit and make it adding, make this subtract, you will end up having $3,887.51 as your new balance. Still, when it comes to this, it's not bad because you don't pay $3. What was the penalty fee? $3. Oops, sorry. You don't pay $3.90 for your payment. So that is how you do. Your homework question is basically solve any type of question on page 282 and 285.6. It is simple adding and subtraction. Sorry about a bunch of error that I made during this lesson simply because I don't have a lot of space and then I need to go back and forth. So I needed to read a lot. Sorry about that. That's today's lesson.